Hi and welcome to the OCR Review, a podcast that covers all things OCR from all around the world.
The first truly international OCR podcast. We are from the UK, living in Asia and following the US racing scene to bring you a holistic overview of what's going on in OCR globally.
Cool, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the OCR Review. I am super excited today to be joined by Jamie Nunn, who is an American-British OCR athlete currently based out of Hong Kong. She is an absolutely awesome OCR athlete, Spartan pro, new mum. So super excited to get her in today and chat all things training, athletic background, etc. So welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited.
Cool, we're excited to have you as well. So I thought the best way of starting with a get to know you would be to ask you some quick fire questions about my kind of favorite OCR things that I want to get to know you about. So I'm going to jump straight in and then we'll go into the more nitty gritty of your OCR background, what got you into the sport and that sort of thing. So if you had a choice in a race, would you choose track or trail?
Definitely trail.
Ooh, okay.
Definitely trail.
A short race or a long race?
I would say to race short, but train long. Train long to race short.
Oh, I like that. Okay, and hot or cold? Sun or snow?
Hot, definitely sun.
I guess that makes sense with being based out in Hong Kong at the moment.
Yeah, it's boiling here.
Okay, heavy carry or a grip gauntlet?
I would probably say heavy carry because I could see myself psyching myself out on a grip gauntlet at the end of the race.
That's fair. I tend to do that. Like you spend the whole race just knowing that you've got that to get through. And so like you almost push yourself too hard to get to that point first, just in case.
And then you just keep thinking about it the whole race. You don't actually focus on the race.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Okay. Muddy mile or sub 10 swim?
Definitely swim. Definitely swim every time.
Oh, okay. I think I know why you've chosen that one, so we'll come back to that. Okay, bagels or oats?
I really want to be healthy and say oats, but I love a bagel. So I'm gonna go with bagel.
Fair enough. I feel like that one's always quite polarizing. I'm an oats person, but mostly because there are very few places I can get decent gluten-free bagels, and that's a real game changer.
Yeah, whereas I kind of feel like there's very few places I get oatmeal the way I want it. So it depends.
That's fair. Yeah. Best training tool?
So this was actually really tough because I could go through like a whole list of things that I use to train. But I think something I use the most are probably those elastic bands in different strengths and different lengths. Okay,
I like that. That's good for traveling with as well, you know.
Yeah,
back in the days when we could travel to races.
Yeah, the bands were great.
Fair enough. Okay. Favorite obstacle?
It's a toss-up between the bender and Stairway to Sparta.
Oh, nice. Stairway to Sparta, the souped up, the new version that's got all of the climbing handholds, or?
I haven't done that one yet, and I'm so disappointed. So it would be the old Stairway to Sparta and the bender. It's just something really fun about, having completely weak legs and arms from running and doing obstacles, and then having to climb something and sit at the very top of it.
Yeah, that's fair. And I guess then talking of weak legs, what's your favorite recovery activity?
Swimming, stretching out, and probably yoga, but swimming, if I had to pick one, would be it.
Okay. And your go-to post-race food?
So it used to be pizza and ice cream.
Nice.
And it's changed a bit. We can kind of get into that later. Now there's I found these peanut butter pretzels, and they're basically like these little pretzel squares stuffed with peanut butter, which is like that perfect carb protein fat ratio. And
that does sound good.
It makes such a difference after a long run or a long training session.
Yeah, that does sound good. So Jessie, who sometimes hosts this with me as well, we went through a phase where every race, our post-race food, one of us would just produce a bag of pretzels and be like, yes!
It's the salt. Also, I need to put a special mention in for chocolate milk, because chocolate milk is really good after a hard session.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, and then my final one for you, which is a polarizing topic at the moment, penalty loop or burpees?
I'm going to go with penalty loop, only because I tend to be a little bit more prone to shoulder injuries. So if my shoulder's feeling okay, burpees are fine, but if it's feeling slightly off, I'd rather do a penalty loop.
That's fair. That's fair. I feel like people tend to fall into one or other camp at the moment. I'm team penalty loop because I feel like it can be policed better. And like, if you've failed it or you've cut it or someone's called you out on that, you know then. And it's a case of like, no, you missed, I don't know, that corner, go run it again. Whereas burpees, sometimes it's like, on the post review, and then you'll think you're in one place and then you'll hear like, no, someone got a burpee penalty and didn't you see that happened and so-and-so's contesting this. And I think it can make the whole kind of end of race process not that fun.
That's a really good point. And it's also really tough because, and I'm sure you've had the same, there's been certain races that we've all done and we all kind of know what races they are, where the burpees in general are not that great, and they're from the elites, and they should be better, and they're not policed, and it's infuriating. Because then you end up screaming at other people and then trying to make note of their numbers, and then at the end of the race you're like, so and so didn't do that, and like nobody has time for that.
And that's the worst feeling, when you know that you're giving it your all and putting everything out there, and then you see someone maybe not doing something to what you would consider the standard. And that can be really disappointing.
I don't mind coming second, third, fourth, fifth, but if it's to someone who's cheated, like that's just that's not okay.
Not the one. Very true. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I hope people feel like they've got to know you a little bit better. But as I said, I'd love to dive into your athletic background and what it was that you used to do when you were younger to train back in the days before OCR became a big thing.
So I was a swimmer, surprisingly enough.
I would never have guessed from the last few questions.
So growing up in the States, like everyone kind of, you start off younger playing every sport. So like you play softball, soccer, football for non-Americans, basketball, horseback riding, like gymnastics, you do kind of a bit of everything. And then you start to specialize because if you're really sporty, they're really focused on scholarships in school. And you start to specialize as you grow older. And
how old do people usually specialize?
Usually you kind of, by about 12 years old, you should have an idea of, or your parents should have an idea of kind of what sports you're good at and what direction you might want to go in. But it can vary. Like my brothers played lacrosse and ice hockey growing up a lot, and one of them played lacrosse for his university and the other played ice hockey. So, but the one that got into lacrosse didn't really do it until he was 15 or 16. So it kind of varies, but I started swimming competitively probably when I was about 11. I started off just on a summer league, and my parents were like, oh, do you want to try doing this throughout the winter and making it more serious? And you end up kind of, then you join a winter team, and then you try to swim for your high school, but your winter team and your high school are two different teams. They're usually not, you don't practice with both. Like the winter team is much harder and much stricter. So like my winter team, I would practice every day except Sunday, and 2 or 3 of those days would be double practices, so morning and afternoon, and plus dry lands and weights and all that fun stuff. So you start doing that when you're about 15. You start really throwing yourself into it, and then your coaches help you kind of reach out to different division level swimming schools, or depending on what sport you're playing. Obviously for me it was swimming. So you start kind of looking for scholarships and recording your times, writing to coaches and just saying, look, I'd love to come swim for you. Like, these are my grades. This is my athletic ability. And it kind of goes from there. You then end up, if the coaches like the sound of you, like you'll get recruiting trips, and you'll go out and you'll spend a night with the team and you'll come back. And just to see if you like the school. So that's what I did. I started swimming at 10, just for a summer team, really casual. Then probably at 11 moved into like winter swimming. 15 started looking at it more seriously, and got a partial swimming scholarship to Fordham University in New York City, and swam for them for all 4 years. So yeah,
that's amazing.
And then the crazy thing is, which I don't love about the US athletic system, is once you finish university, you kind of just stop with the sport. You can do like master swimming, you can do adult leagues, but it's not really as prevalent. It's just kind of expected that, okay, well, now you used to be a swimmer, you're done now. Whereas I've noticed, especially in the UK, like they have, using football as an example, they've got like you play football, and then like you just join the men's league, and then you join the adult league, and then so it keeps going. And I love that, because when I stopped swimming, I was completely at a loss. I was like, what do I do? Like, I'm so used to getting up and going to the pool every day, like for the last 15 years, like this, what do I do now?
Gosh, yeah, that must have been quite jarring, because you're also going through the period in time when you're like transitioning out of school as well. So that's literally like everything in your life suddenly just stopped, like, okay, go be an adult now.
Yeah, and the physical changes for me anyway, like my body was so used to swimming, and like swimmers can eat whatever they want because they're constantly burning calories, and you had to be really, really careful when you stopped swimming, because suddenly you were like, I can't eat whatever I want. So like my body for like 2 or 3 months was just like resetting itself, and I got into the gym. I started going to spin, started going to kickboxing, just trying everything. And to this day, I'd still say that a good like 2-hour swim workout with a team, I couldn't do it myself, I would have to do with a team, is probably still one of the best, most tiring activities I can do.
Amazing. Oh, that's so interesting. So did you try and kind of continue swimming and incorporating it on your own, or did you really feel like you had to find something else to anchor to as you went through that process?
I felt like I needed to try something else. For me, and not for everybody, but for me, swimming, when you do it with a team, even though it's a really individual sport, doing it with a team is, you push yourself harder, because you've got people doing the same sets and right next to you, and you all leave at the same time. You race each other during practice. You could give me a practice to do with a team and a practice to do by myself, and I will always do a better job and actually finish the set with the team. Whereas if it's just me on my own, like it's just not the same at all.
Yeah, I totally get that. I feel like that with like doing a good speed session on the track, like if you're running with a group of other people and everyone's kind of going out hard, you could always just find that extra bit of energy to give and push and to kind of surprise yourself with the times. Whereas like, especially at the moment where we've all obviously been kind of training solo, or at least in Singapore for most of the circuit breaker and phase 1, you weren't allowed out with other people to train. So like I'd go out separately, and then Jay would go out separately. And speed sessions suddenly became really hard, like just finding that extra motivation to be like, I'm going to push hard now with no one else around and no one to really be held accountable to, and no one to race. Like it's a very strange feeling to lose that kind of group push.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So you've stopped swimming, you're trying loads of different sports. How long did that period go on for, and did running come into the mix at that point in time, or did you just kind of enjoy your sporting freedom?
I am going to let you in on a little secret, which I think you probably already know based on some of our past conversations. I hate running. I don't like it. What I
Which
do
is
like
just,
is,
it makes me so sad, because you're so fast. It's not fair.
What I like is seeing the improvement, and I like that I can see myself getting faster, and I like the ability. I read a really good quote a few weeks ago. I need to find it again, because it pretty much summed up how I feel about running. And it was basically, it said something along the lines of like, most runners don't like running, but they like basically being able to see themselves improve. It was much more eloquently worded than that. But So kind of going back to your question, running really didn't come into it. Like, I think I did the occasional 5K. I moved to London. So after I graduated in 2006, I moved to London on like a year-long internship program.
Cool.
That's actually where I met Andy. So that we were really good friends for most of my internship year, and kind of right before I moved back to New York, I told him I kind of liked him, and he couldn't get away from me after that. Yeah, so that's a whole different story though.
Maybe we'll go into that on another episode.
yeah.
or over a drink sometime.
yes. No, it's an excellent story, and it's worked out well. So, but basically, I kind of took that year. I did just a lot of different, like, I did weights, but I did lighter weights, or I would try like the occasional 5K, or I would do like, what was it, like the JP Morgan 5K chase challenge through Battersea Park.
Yep, we do that. That comes around to Singapore. We do that with my office.
Yeah. So my time on that, it was on Athlinks. Like, when I signed up for Athlinks, it like managed to find it. It was something like 31 minutes. And I was like,
wow.
Was it 31? It must have been. I think it was 31 minutes. And I was just looking at that going, oh, I thought that was really good. And I mean, for someone who doesn't run, like, it was, but I was just like,
I was gonna say, for a non-runner to just kind of go in, because also those, I think they're just over 5K. I want to say they're like 5.6 or 5.8 or something like that.
Yeah.
So to go in with not much training or not much running background and just kind of smash out, 5.5, 6K in 31 minutes, it's not bad from zero.
But I also had a very, like, I don't want to say overinflated sense of confidence, but I was just like, whatever, I go to the gym, I can do this. It's fine. And I had the same sense of confidence when I signed up for the 3 Peaks Challenge, having never really hiked a mountain. I was like, whatever, I go to the gym. That was, we finished it. We did finish it in 24 hours. I crawled up Snowdon. I was in so much pain. And I just remember the first 20 minutes in up Ben Nevis just being like, I have severely overestimated what I think I can do.
Oh gosh. I think just for our listeners who are based in Asia, who might not be as familiar as we are with the 3 Peaks Challenge, can you just talk me through what that entails?
Yes, absolutely. So the 3 Peaks Challenge is you have to climb the highest mountain in Scotland, England, and Wales in 24 hours. So that's up and down in 24 hours plus driving time. I think it's about 6 hours between Ben Nevis in Scotland and Scafell Pike in England, and then I think it's about 3 hours between Scafell Pike and Snowdon, which is in Wales. And it's great if you haven't done it and you want a challenge. It's really fun. People typically do it in the summer, so they'll start kind of in the evening because it stays light out longer, and they'll go up Ben Nevis and come back down. It's stunning. We were really lucky. We had sunshine at the top for all 3 of them.
Amazing.
I loved it. I'd love to do it again and see if I can actually do it this time. But definitely it is not something you just walk into, because you will not enjoy it as much.
That's fair.
So I think from like 2006 up until we moved to Hong Kong in 2015, I went to the gym, I did kickboxing. Like, I always stayed active, but I didn't have anything that I was training for the way that I did when I swam. When I swam, there were swim meets like 2 or 3 times a month. So you were always training for something. Whereas I didn't have anything to train for. I wasn't racing. I wasn't, like there was nothing. So it was kind of starting to get a little bit old, and I was in shape, but I wasn't happy with the shape I was in. Which probably leads us nicely to your next question of then how did I get into obstacle course racing?
That's like you've taken the words right out of my mouth.
So Hong Kong had their first Spartan race in 2016, November 2016. I had never done one. My parents had actually done one in New Jersey. I think they did.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they'd done one like the year before, and it was one of the ones that was like up a ski resort. I completely blanked on the name of the ski resort, but it was in New Jersey.
Ooh.
And I remember my mother being like, yeah, we had to climb under barbed wire up one of the pistes, like up one of the hills. And I was like, you're nuts. Like, why would you do that? It's like, no, it was really fun. I'm like, you should do it. And I was like, no, I'm good.
Oh, I love this. So it's your parents that convinced you to give it a go then?
Yeah, well, so I think like then like the following year they had it here. Andy and I were like, oh, let's give it a shot. We did it with another friend. I think the night before the race, Andy was just like, have you taken a look online and any of the obstacles? I was like, no, they'll be fine. Again, just going back to, I work out, I'll be fine. Like, no, I'll be fine. I go to the gym. And he was like, you know, like people get seriously injured doing this. Like, let me show you. He starts showing me some videos. And I'm just like, oh, like I was not nervous at all. Like we were just doing the open heat. So we went around with a friend with the GoPro. We still have the videos from that. They're phenomenal.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's an excellent one of me going through the barbed wire screaming about the spiders because I hate spiders.
Oh gosh, but you do have some huge spiders in Hong Kong though.
Oh, yeah. No, these weren't huge. These were quite small. And I'm just basically lying in the mud going, I don't want to do this. There's spiders. Yeah,
Amazing.
That was sad. But we had a great time. It was just really fun. They had it again the following year, 2017. And we were like, cool, let's do it again, did it again, had a good time. Still doing the open. And then it was April 2018. And I remember the year before, I remember seeing Brendan and Jade Hunt come up from Australia for it. I remember seeing some of the guys in Hong Kong and just being like, wow, like they're so fast, that's really cool. But not really feeling like I needed to do that. Just being like, cool, like that's amazing, well done them. And it was April 2018, and I was doing it with another friend, and we signed up for the open, and they changed the location of the course. So it was a bit harder. Like there was sand running, there was beach, there was like a beach obstacle, and
oh, nice.
It was really cool. I hope they do that one again. But Andy was like, you know what, I'm gonna do, for anyone listening, Andy's my husband. We've been married 5 years. Great guy. He's definitely, he counterbalances me perfectly. So we can get into that later. But he basically was like, I'm gonna do the age group. I want to see how I stack up. Like I've been training. He's been training with Chris Davis here in Hong Kong, going to his boot camps, and was just like, I'm gonna see how the age group goes. I was like, cool. My friend and I are gonna do the open. Have fun. He goes out, he does the age group. Like I remember like watching him go, really nervous. Like my friend and I start the open. We're like, this is great. Like we had a great time. Like finish, and Andy had basically blown up. He did not do well. The sand took everything out of him. We had basically we had a great time, and our time was actually our open time with the burpees that we did was faster than his age group.
Oh no! Oh, bless him.
And he just looked at me and he was like, all right. I mean, to be fair, like I think we probably skipped out some like we just didn't care. Like we were having a great time. So we get home and he's on the computer and he looks at me. He goes, so there's a race in Taiwan next week. Like I can't wait until November for the next Spartan race to come to Hong Kong. Like I can't live with the fact that you basically beat me doing an open heat and I did age group. He's like, so do you want to go to Taiwan? And I'm like, yeah, cool. Like haven't been there. Let's go. So he's like, the only way we're going to go is if you sign up for age group. And I was like, oh, but that means I have to do the burpees if I fail. And he's like, yes, that is the I was like, oh, fine. So we go, like, I have no idea what to expect. He booked a hotel like an hour and a half from the race site.
No.
We were not prepared for this. Like we're like, this is great. Like, let's just turn up. We go and it was different, obviously. Like you're not like,
because the terrain is super different, I think, depending on where you are across Asia. Yeah.
Very different, but also just the mentality of being like, oh, I actually have to do burpees if I fail. So maybe this is like this is a thing.
There's more on the line.
Something. Yeah. So we start and we both did age group. I think that was the first time I'd done the bender. It was the first time we ever did a super distance, and it wasn't that bad. If you go back and you find photos of it, I'm literally like, I've got like the arm sleeves, I've got gloves. I'm just like, I am so ready for this gravel and these spiders. Like, I'm ready.
All the gear.
Yeah, all the gear looked great. I had no idea what I was doing. But Andy ended up finishing second in his age group, and I finished first in my age group.
Wow,
And
amazing.
that was suddenly, we were just like, oh, okay, when's the next race? And the next one was Thailand, and the next one was Malaysia, and it just snowballed. And it suddenly just became this thing of like, this is really fun. When's the next race? Who's going to be at the next race? Like, who can we see? Who can we hang out? And it's like, so that's kind of how it happened. Like, it's very unexpected, and it just went.
Oh, that's awesome. And like, I could totally get where you're coming from with the snowball, because I feel like here there's such an amazing community that travels to all of these races that you then kind of get this awesome like international group of friends that you can be like, oh great, and you're going to that one, so I'll see you there. And you know, you get these big dinners, and it's got this awesome kind of community feel to it.
Yeah, that's, I think that's one of the best parts of it, and especially felt like that last year when I wasn't racing. But yeah, no, it's so much more fun when you've got people there that you know.
So then what gave you the push to move from age group to elite? Did that then just kind of become the natural progression, or was there a moment that made you go, you know what, I'm all in now?
It was kind of like, I just remember saying to Andy, well, the elite and the age group, like, there's no real difference between them, apart from the fact that one gets prize money and the other doesn't. Like, I still have to do the burpees, I still have to wear a timing chip. Like, I might as well just do the elite and then get on the course a little bit earlier. So then the next race we did was in Kuala Lumpur, and we did the elite. I think we both did the elite. Then Andy still goes between elite and age group, and I think he does that because the caliber of the men in Asia is still quite high.
Yes.
And Andy his running times have dropped so much since he started training, but he's the kind of person who likes to sit in the back and pick people off. And if he does the elite, like, they're just gone. Whereas if he does the age group, he has a lot more fun doing the age group and picking people off as he goes through the field. Whereas I'm kind of the opposite. I do not like having people to pick off. I'd rather be out in front and just be like, all right, I don't have to worry about this. But yeah, I think there were like maybe 5 of us doing elite in Kuala Lumpur, and I was just like, and it was the beast, and I was like, this is going to be interesting. But it worked out. Like, we'd done a few 20K runs before that. It worked out, and yeah, it was fun. Like, it was actually a really fun day. And again, back to what you were saying with all the people there, it was great. It was great kind of coming in, kind of came into like, there was a massive gauntlet of grip obstacles.
Yeah, I think I know the obstacle, the race that you're talking about. Was this round about maybe November time in KL?
No, I do
July race.
That one now. This was the July race.
Yes.
This was the July race, yeah. And it was like, yeah,
it had a horrendous gauntlet at the end. I think, wasn't it the one that you came down off of the hill and you literally had this, I want to say the spear throw. No, you had the zip wall, the Z wall,
Yeah, and then there was Olympus, spear, rope, monkey bars, multi-rig, cargo net, inverted wall, and then done.
Yes, no, I remember that race because Jay, that was his first trifecta weekend. And so I think I'd either done the sprint or the super, or I can't remember exactly which order it was, and then spent the rest of the weekend there cheering him on. So I was seeing all of the elites, like I was racing age group at the time, so I was seeing all of the elites coming through. And I remember seeing Maggie come through. I remember seeing my friend Viv, and she was having a really bad day. She'd come in like really, really hot, and then I think she literally failed a few obstacles back to back, and it was just like fail burpees. Like that. I remember that gauntlet like just crushed so many people.
Yeah, that one was tough. So the beast, I ended up winning the beast, and that was just pure luck because Maggie came in first on that, but she'd missed a part of the course. There was one part that went up the hill and came back down, and she completely missed it, so she got disqualified.
And
there was a girl that was in front of me, and she and I were playing cat and mouse the whole time, and she got to the swim, and she refused to put the life vest on. And they had said, if you don't put the life vest on, you're disqualified. and we hit the water at the same time. And I'm like, you got to put it on. You got to put it on. She was like, no, 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 no. And we got to the gauntlet, and I think it was Johnny and Chris came running up, and they're like, come on, come on. I'm like, guys, like, she didn't put the life vest on. And they just took off to the officials tent. And I was like, oh, I feel kind of bad.
Oh, no.
But like that, we were swimming, and I'm like, you got to put it on. They're going to DQ you.
It's the rules. Like,
yeah. And then I think I came second the next day, and Lucy and I were playing cat and mouse the whole time.
Oh, yes.
That was a really fun one, because I felt so bad for her. She fell off the multi-rig, and I had fallen off the day before, and I kind of remember walking up to the multi-rig just being like, you know what? Like, the worst that happens is I fall off. Like, let's just give it a go. And I did it. And I just remember like jumping off and seeing Lucy doing her burpees, and just the look of agony. And I was like, oh. But she came third. Like she like, it was really fun. And like, that's, I think, what's so much fun about the races is like, you race the people you know, and you want them to do well. Like you do, like you want to do well, but you want them to do well also. So
that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's nuts. Because I remember that race very clearly. And for me, that was a point when I'd been doing a little bit of age group. I was sitting at the top of the series and was in that place where I was like, oh, well, it doesn't really make sense for me to stay in age group, but I want to finish the series, but I want to move to elite because I'm doing quite well here. So I was really like watching everyone and trying to get to know like, who are these different girls and like how, like, what's their race style like. So I really clearly remember, just because I was sat waiting for Jay, like sitting and watching all of you guys coming through and being like, oh my God, these people are terrifyingly good. And now I'm basically learning that you did that having started in what, April of that year?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, but for me, like, it was just lucky. I mean, like, there were literally 5 elite women in one of the races. Like, that, it was like I think that's actually one thing I'm really excited for at the end of lockdown, is to see what new faces we've got in the elite women, because like, you always are going to have a dark horse come up. Like I came up as a dark horse and nobody knew who I was, and then did fairly well. And it'll be fun seeing kind of what happens after lockdown's over, because I think you're going to have a lot of people that you don't expect suddenly just pop up, and you'll just be like, oh, who's that?
Yeah, and people who have taken these few months to really like dial in their training, work out what works for them in a setting where no one else has like seen them and watched them in a group class and been like, oh, they're looking good. Yeah,
absolutely. Because I'm sure everyone else does it. Like, and I used to do this when I swam. Like, you know your opponents, like, you know their weaknesses, you know what they're good at. Like, you can be really close with them, and like I fully expect, like, using you as an example, I fully expect you to kind of be like, okay, like, I know Jamie's good at this. I know she needs to work on this. Like, I can make up time here. Like, that's what you do in a race. Like, you want them to do well, but also you also want to do well. So like, I think most people do that. And I think anybody who doesn't isn't really preparing very well for the races. But also the people that you don't know who are coming up, like, we don't know who we don't know right now. And that's kind of exciting.
This is so true. And that's definitely what I'm excited for this year. And actually, I'm going to jump forwards in time and then maybe go back to the last year. But I know that for me, that's something that I'm really looking forwards to for the upcoming races, is to see who might be the new faces and like how having a steady training block has affected me versus other people. Have you got any specific things that you're looking forward to, or any aspirations for when races come back this year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, so I'll kind of start this off with a reality check to myself. Like, I'm 36 years old. I thought my athletic days were behind me. Like, I thought when I finished swimming, like, that was pretty much it. So I was not expecting to do anything with Spartan racing. You know, like, being on the pro team, I'm fully aware, like, the guys in the States are phenomenal. Like, if I go and race in the States, I would not hold a candle to them. But in Asia, maybe even in Europe, like, it's a completely different story. And I am loving the challenge, and I'm loving being able to push myself and seeing that I can still accomplish things at 36 that maybe I couldn't have done when I was 22. So kind of with that in mind, my aspirations kind of for the next upcoming race season, whenever that starts. It's it's just to kind of see how my body's changed since I had a baby, and how it's stronger and how it's weaker. But also, I want to keep enjoying it. And I think last year when I got pregnant, I was furious. Like I remember talking to you about this last summer. I was furious because I was in the best shape I'd ever been in. I felt incredibly strong, and getting pregnant was not on the cards. And suddenly this happened, and mentally it was a really tough thing for me to work through. And I think now, looking back on it, I'm really glad that it happened for many reasons. Like my son's adorable, and
yes, he really is. All of your pictures that you post of him, he's got like gorgeous chubby cheeks. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, he's a funny kid. He's a really funny kid. We lucked out. He's really easygoing, and he's really happy. But I had so much fun last year, which absolutely shocked me because I was so angry that I was going to miss out. Like my plan last year was like, you know, win a series, go to World, see how well I would do. Like that was my plan. And obviously that went spinning out of control. So I didn't think that anything good was going to happen last year, but actually going to the races and cheering everybody on and doing, I think I did 5 or 6 races, 2 of them when I didn't know I was pregnant, and the rest I did. But I did the open heat, and I had so much fun. Like I remember the Singapore race and just running up and down, taking pictures, cheering people on, and just like, and then doing the open after, and I just had so much fun.
Yeah.
And in that sense, like it made me realize like, like winning is really nice, and competing is really nice, but actually like seeing the people and doing the best that you can do while you're there and just showing up on the day, like that was great. So that's kind of what I want to carry over to this year. Like, I want to win in Hong Kong. Like I want to do really well, but I want to enjoy it. Like I want to have a great day, and I want to finish the Hong Kong race weekend being like, this was an awesome weekend. And I don't need a trophy at the end of the weekend for that. Like I can have a great time with who's ever there. So it's super cliche, but it's actually true. And I would not have said I would have thought that would have been the case last year.
Well, that's really nice to hear, I think, because certainly getting to know you as you were going through that kind of like monumental change in your life and how you were kind of adapting to it. Because I think we kind of started chatting at a few of the earlier races in the year, but it was probably, it was one of the first SEA series races, I think. And I remember I really had you on my radar. Like you were next to me on the start line, and I was like, I know this girl is fast. Like I remember racing against her in Sentosa, and like she is quick. Like you've got to stick to her like glue. And then I remember just being like, Jamie's not there. What's her strategy? Is she like gonna suddenly come at us from the end? And so I kind of had you in my head for a lot of the race. And then at the end, like having a chat with you and you being like, oh, you know, actually I've just found out that I'm pregnant, and so like I didn't really want to go that hard. And
that was a really tough race for me. I love sprint races. I love them. When I swam, I was a sprinter, so I trained long and sprinted in races. Like that was always the thing for me. And I was so excited when they announced that the first series race was going to be a sprint. And I remember standing on that start line, like I found out a few weeks earlier, and I was so tired, just like bone achingly tired. I felt so sick that morning. And what nobody tells you, what nobody told me is like the first few months you're pregnant, your blood capacity increases like by something like 50%. But your arteries haven't expanded to deal with that. So you can't ever catch your breath. So like you could be walking down the street and you're completely out of breath, and like your heart rate's meant to stay below like 170. And like my doctor was like, look, it's fine. Like you could do races, like just keep your heart rate below 170. And like, I'm walking down the street and my heart rate's 170.
Oh gosh.
And I just remember like being like, let's just see how this goes. And it was one of those like character defining races where like I am not stopping. remember like getting to the spear and just being like, I just need to hit this, and I missed it. I was like, just do each burpee one at a time. Like, don't think about it, just do it. And Andy actually came back to find me. That's how slow I was. And he was genuinely worried. And I remember finishing, and like, I hadn't really wanted to tell people I was pregnant because it was just under 3 months. But I was so, like, for lack of a better word, I was actually really embarrassed about how slow I was because nobody knew. And you don't have to justify yourself to people, but in that moment, I was just like, this isn't me. I'm not slow. This isn't me. And I think I blurted it out to you guys. Someone was like, oh, like, how's your ankle? And I was like, my ankle's fine. I'm just pregnant. And everybody was like, oh God. Oh God.
Yeah, so, I think that is how it went down.
So yeah, it was looking back, I'm really glad I went through it, but like, that was such a humbling race because nothing was in my control for that one.
Yeah.
So,
but what was amazing is that you went through that, and then to see you continuing to show up at pretty much every start line that happened afterwards, like just with a completely kind of changed mentality of like, okay, I'm not going to go out and win this, but I am now just going to, you know, run in the open, cheer on friends, and just continued to kind of train and race through your pregnancy and enjoy the experience. It was amazing.
Oh, thank you. It was like, I won't lie, like I went to therapy when I was pregnant because I was really concerned that I was having such a hard time with it, and that was the best thing I could have done, because she was like, look, like, you need to understand, like, this is gonna, like, you being a mother is gonna be a facet of who you are, but it's not gonna define you unless you let it. Like, there's still a lot of other things that you can do. So kind of me going out and still doing races, even if it was just an open race, or even if it was just like a 5K race in Hong Kong, like that was the way that I could kind of be like, look, I'm still me. Like, I'm not just some pregnant lady. I'm not going to be it. Like, I'm still me. And that helped so much. That was probably the best thing I could have done.
Yeah, no, I can see that, especially because, like you said, it was like quite defining for you. Like, even if before Spartan you were kind of chasing a lot of different sports, it sounds like you've always been pretty active. And I know that for a lot of women, when they get pregnant, they do kind of face, I guess, a decision about how active they're going to be in their pregnancy, if they are going to take on races, if they are going to kind of not put themselves at risk, but put themselves in, I guess, a more athletically challenging situation. And I know that for a lot of people, they kind of shy away from that for the fear of how it might affect their pregnancy. I mean, did that come into the decision for you to keep on going?
In a way, yes. So I had a great doctor. She was just, I think her exact words were, if obstacle course races made people miscarry, we would send all the teen mothers out to do them. And I was like,
oh God.
I was like, so I can still do them? And she was like, yeah, just be careful. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Right. So that was an interesting conversation. She was great. She was like, look, like, whatever you've been doing, keep doing. Like, obviously this isn't the time to try something new, but keep doing whatever works. The first few weeks, the first trimester, like, everyone says, oh, you're tired. Like, nobody really tells you what that means. Like, you are just like, you hit a point when you need to go to bed, or you're just gonna, like, it's painful. It's physically painful. Like, that's how tired you are. And you only want certain foods, and you kind of, I think each woman's completely different. I hit a point where I was just like, okay, I'm eating a lot of carbs. Carbs are not what I'm used to eating. I'm getting really tired. Why don't I just go back to eating what I used to eat within reason? So I stopped eating, like, the carbs, the crackers, the toast, the bagels, all that. And I was just like, right, I need to have the protein, I need to have the vegetables. Like, I still ate whatever my body really was craving. But I also was just like, no, like, this is not helping me feel better. And the second I did that, I don't know if it was a mental thing, physical thing, but that helped a lot. My energy levels came back, not a huge amount, but they definitely came back. That was incredibly helpful. But yeah, I think also something that was really helpful was I was able to reach out and talk to a lot of people who were pregnant and who were athletes. So I messaged Rose Wetzel because I knew she'd had a baby in the US a few years ago.
And then it bounced back to kind of do incredibly well in the OCR-C.
Yeah. So she replied, she was great. It was just like, look, like I still did this and this and this when I was pregnant, like listen to your body. And I was like, okay. And I talked to Danny in Singapore, and she's one of the personal trainers there. She had a baby last year. She was really great to talk to. And even like here in Hong Kong, like I was able to find a good group of women who were expecting, who were personal trainers, who were yoga teachers, and just some of them had babies before, some of them hadn't, but they were just such invaluable voices that I could reach out to and be like, I feel like this, because you do, like I would have some of them, the male trainers at the gym come up and be like, should you be here? And I'd be like, should you be asking me that? You're not my doctor and you're not female. So one of the best pieces of advice I got was listen to your body. Like your body will tell you what you can and can't do. And super early on, I think I stopped doing planks. It just didn't feel right. It just like, I can't explain it. It just didn't feel right. But I ran until I was about 8 months pregnant, and that was amazing. And then one day on the treadmill, like I was doing just an easy 5K, and something just shifted, and I was like, nope, done running. That's it. Like it's just not right anymore. So it was really useful to have a lot of support from other people who had gone through it or who were going through it at the same time to kind of talk to about it, to know that I wasn't going crazy. Because you're right, like a lot of women are just like, oh, I'm now just like, you have to wrap me up in cotton wool, and like that never would have worked. I would have gone crazy. So
I can see that. And I think what's great is that there's been so much more dialogue about it, I feel, recently. So it's amazing that you managed to find a community. But I feel like last year I also saw a lot more, I guess, in the news and online about female athletes who were getting pregnant and who were maybe being dropped by their sponsors, or who were continuing to train through pregnancy and were getting a lot of backlash on social media because, you know, they were pictured on the running track with, you know, like a 6, 7, 8 month baby bump. And so it's great that I think there is slowly becoming more dialogue about that, and the fact that, you know, you can train, you just have to, like you said, be, I guess, more intuitive as you do it.
I mean, let me think. So I had Cooper on the 29th of November. I was on the rowing machine 2 days before that, basically, because at that point I couldn't run, I couldn't do anything, but I was like, I can row. Rowing is fine, so I'm gonna do that. And staying in shape and staying active the whole pregnancy, I think, really helped, just not only with the labor and delivery, but bouncing back really quickly. That was quite beneficial as well.
And how did you find the transition after you'd had Cooper as well?
I, at that point, I think had learned, and I had said and had talked to enough people that I was just like, I need to take this easy. Like I need to almost treat this as an injury, and I'm rehabbing from an injury.
Okay.
So I took 6 weeks off after having him. I know some women feel fine. They can go back, they can run, they can lift weights right away. It wasn't, for me, that wasn't the case. I took 6 weeks. I went to the doctor. She signed me off, but she was like, you got to work on your pelvic floor muscles. And I was like, okay, like not really understanding what that meant. I learned very quickly when I went out for my first run exactly what that meant. So but again, like it's all something you can work on. It's all something that you can talk to people about. Like it's something, it's not something you have to live with. But the first time I tried to do any kind of ab work, my core muscles were gone. Like I couldn't do a sit-up. And I remember lying on the mat and just being like, I have never, ever not been able to do a sit-up. Like this is weird. And just being like, all right, okay, so we're starting from here. But also just I definitely have had days where I've had really high expectations of myself. And I've also had days where I'm like, you know what, this is okay. This is okay. We're going to get there. Like, take a deep breath. It's fine. So I've learned to be a lot more accepting, if that makes sense. And listen to myself. Like if there's some days that I'm just too tired to do a really hard track session, then I'm like, you know what? It's going to be yoga today. Today's yoga day. And then there's other days when we've gone out for runs and Andy's turned around to me and be like, man up, let's go. Come on. I'm just sitting there crying, but like, okay, let's go. So it was definitely a transition. It was very strange to always be able to be some level of active to suddenly be like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. And then figure out kind of what I could do and couldn't do and how to get to the point where I could do things, and just making sure that my body was stable and sound enough again. Like your core muscles can separate. So it's really important to make sure they go back together, because otherwise you're never going to have that core strength again. And but also just being aware of how your body matches up. Like I've got a phenomenal physio here, and the first 6 weeks I had Cooper, I spent the whole time kind of cradling him and feeding him. My shoulder started to hurt, and I'd gone in to see this physio before for another shoulder injury about 2 years earlier. And it felt like a similar pain as the other shoulder. And I was like, no, it's fine. I'm just going to ignore it. It's fine. And it got to the point that it was like, so Cooper's 7.5 months now. I went in about 2 months ago. And I was like, it still hurts. It's not getting better. I'm trying to do the exercises I did for the other shoulder. And he was like, well, no, that's because it's a different injury.
Oh,
okay. But he was like, you should have come in sooner, because now, like, you've been trying to avoid doing this, and now you've done this and this and that. And I was like, oh, right. And so he's been great, kind of helped me rehab. But at one point I mentioned to him, it was like, oh, like my lower back's really hurting. And he was like, how much are you running? And I'd gotten to the point where I'd started running a lot over the last 2 months, because I knew that if I was really gonna like I could tone up, but like the running was gonna be what helped me drop like kind of the last little bit of baby weight. So we were doing 20 Ks like every weekend, and track workouts 3 times a week, and it was at the expense of stretching and yoga. And I've always made sure I've done yoga 2 or 3 times a week. And he was like, how much running are you doing and how much yoga are you doing? And I was like, a lot and none. And he was like, so this is why your back hurts. Like your hips are tight, your hamstrings are tight, you are not stretching, you need to get back into the yoga. I was like, oh, okay. And so it's just little things like that, like being more aware of what you need to do, and just kind of not being so hard on yourself. Just knowing that your body's done a lot, and it's coming at the training from a completely different way now. But time will tell if it's stronger or not. We'll see.
Well, I mean, looking at the few things that you're kind of posting online, it looks like you are back into the swing of things. I guess maybe, I don't know if you would say that you feel like you're back in the same sort of training as you were before, but it looks like you're definitely very active again. Like, taking Cooper out on walks and like whistling in front of you and all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, he's like 10 kilograms now. He's like my little weight vest. Definitely back. Like I'm definitely working out every day. I would say it probably wasn't until the last month that I've started to feel like me again. I've started to be like, okay, I can sprint this. I can sprint this, and I know that I can kind of have a kick up here. And you know what, like you're going to tell me to go run stairs. Yep, I can do this, and I'm not going to sit down at the top of the stairs and cry. There were definitely runs that we do with Chris and Andy. I think the first 20K run we did, it was an old route that we used to do all the time, and it took me an hour longer, and I finished it and I just cried. And Andy especially was great, but he was like, come on, like this isn't going to get you anywhere. And I was like, okay, got it. Needed that, thank you. But yeah, it's probably the last month has really started to click back into place, which has been wonderful, because I know we were supposed to have the Vietnam race in what was it, February.
Yes.
I would not have been ready for that. Like mentally I was ready, but physically there was no way that I could have held a candle to anybody on that field. Like, and I think I would have gotten really frustrated. So
yeah, I can imagine mentally that being very different, to kind of be like, oh, but I've had the baby and I've been training, and then to go and not feel like yourself, I think would probably mentally have been quite a struggle. Yeah.
So selfishly, the lockdown's been really good for me, because it's given me a chance to train. But yeah, it'll be interesting when we all have to stand on the start line again, because I haven't stood on the start line really since that last series race last May.
Gosh,
so
yeah.
There's always that kind of start line mentality of like, let's go. So it'll be fun, but it'll be daunting, I think.
Oh, I'm excited for you, because it'll be November to the next Hong Kong race, right?
Yes. Yes. Do you think you guys will be able to get over for it?
I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so.
Oh, me too.
I don't know.
Me too.
I've tentatively planned. So I think there's Vietnam in like September now. That original
Okay.
race that was in February that got pushed back and then got pushed back again.
Yes,
I want to
that's
say that's
right.
like September, October time. And then there's
Yeah.
some races, I think, in the Philippines that have been scheduled as well. So I've got them
Mm,
really optimistically in my calendar, along with Hong Kong and Abu Dhabi, because for me, I really wanted
yeah.
to like go to Worlds and see how I could do in a hot
Yeah.
climate this year. So
Yeah.
yeah, those were kind of my main focus. And now I'm just like, well, we'll see what happens if we can travel, if we can travel without
Yeah.
quarantine. Like at the moment
It's so nice.
here, you know, we'd be in a situation where we don't know if we would necessarily get granted entry back into the country if we leave. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of considerations to put in. But if I could make it across to
Yeah.
Hong Kong, like Hong Kong has been on my list of places that I've wanted to go and race pretty much since we started getting into Spartan competitively, because everyone always just
Oh,
says the courses there are like the most brutal, like gorgeous terrain, really hard. So
if it's the course they did last November, it'll be a brutal course. It's straight up and down a mountain twice, I think.
yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, no, I did actually. I took a look when they announced that the APACs had moved to Hong Kong in November, and I went back digging through to find the old race maps and found the elevation profile and
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's so many rounds of Bukit Timah Hill, so many rounds.
Oh, yeah. 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 I remember standing at the start line last year and just being like, I'm almost glad I'm not racing because that is a big hill.
Oh gosh.
We'll see. We'll see.
It'll be exciting.
Yes,
So to maybe
absolutely.
close that off, you mentioned earlier that your post-race food had changed. So what is it that you're going to be having at the end of this Hong Kong race, and why is it that you've shifted from pizza to pretzels?
Do you know what? Like, I don't know. I like during pregnancy, like pizza and ice cream. Like before pregnancy, like I loved pizza and ice cream. And since then, like I think I had pizza a few weeks ago after a long run, and I was like, this just doesn't taste as good as it used to, which makes me
Oh.
really sad because I love pizza. But yeah, I don't know what it is. Like it's disappointing. Like even the ice cream, like I was eating ice cream and I was like, this isn't very good. And like the thing is, like when I have a cheat day, like I want to enjoy it. And if you have food and you're like, I don't really like this, but this is my cheat meal, it's just kind of really sad.
Yeah, no, that is sad. So maybe you'll discover a new cheat meal then. You'll find a new thing that you'll be like, yes, this is my post-race food now. Well, I guess pretzels. To be fair, pretzels and peanut butter sounds like a really good shout post-race.
It's really good. It's excellent. Next time I see you, I'll have to bring you a bag.
Well, you know what? It's very close to my post-race food, so like I'm a little bit take it or leave it in terms of what I want to have when everyone's like going out for dinner afterwards, whether it's burgers, pizzas, whatever. Like I'm fairly open. Like I want to have junk because we burnt a lot of calories, but fairly open.
Yeah.
But when I finish the race, I have to have a peanut butter sandwich. I will always have one in my bag.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when I swam, it was always a box of frosted mini wheats.
Oh.
But only if they have allowed the frosting on. If they didn't have the frosting, then no.
Then it didn't count. Yeah. No. It's funny how foods will become so associated with that being the thing that you want after exercise. Like when I was a kid, actually Jay and I were talking about this the other day, we're saying whenever you go swimming in the UK, there is always somewhere that you get chips afterwards. So swimming as a kid is associated with you finish and your parents get you chips. And that is like, because usually like you'll go, like usually it's like warm in the swimming pool area and then you're going outside and it's cold and it's miserable and it's raining and then you get your chips and you're like holding on to them like, oh, I can stay warm.
That's so funny. Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, it is funny. It is funny how that happens.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. Interesting.
Cool. Well, I feel like we've covered so much ground today. I feel like I've learned a lot as well. So thank you so much for sharing and so openly about your experiences over the last couple of years.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me to be on. It's been really, really cool.
Well, selfishly, it's been interesting to kind of hear your experiences and how you're training. And actually, that's what I'm going to finish off with. Is usually at the end of our podcast, we'll ask for our guests to share what their favourite workout of the week has been. So I don't know if you need a little bit of time to think. I'm going to share what mine has been. I give you like a little bit of time. So this week I made it back into the gym now that gyms have reopened, which was like, and I think I'd spent all of the lockdown being like, I don't need a gym, it's fine. I've bought some kettlebells and I can do loads of body weight movements and I don't need to be in a gym. I can totally make this work. And I got in on Sunday and was like, I can pick up heavy things. I can play on monkey bars. This is amazing. So I was literally like a little kid, just like running around. I finished off with an old favourite because I was like, I don't want to do too much that's different from how I've been training, because I tend to get a little bit overexcited and then give myself injuries from making big changes. So I like planned everything that I was going to do, and like 3/4 of it was the same as what I've been doing at home, and then like the last few sets of exercises I was like, I'm going to give myself just like some fun stuff that I normally enjoy doing, to just be like, yes, I'm back in the gym again. So I did like a nice set where we've got one of those curved treadmills that you kind of power it yourself. which are fun. So I decided to incorporate that into like a heavy carry session. So I did like kind of 90 seconds, like all effort on that, straight into some kettlebell deadlifts, climbing up and down. We've got like some bleachers. So literally deadlifts, keep a hold of the kettlebells, go round and round the bleachers 5 times, put those down, 5 heavy ball slams, bear crawl out and back onto the treadmill, repeat 3 times. And it was horrible. I think I must have annoyed all the people around me, because I was like, by the end of it, I'm like, I will not run with these kettlebells. And I'm literally there like, breathing loudly, like sweating everywhere, like cursing under my breath, and I was like, I used to do this every week, I will finish. But I had such a good time doing it. I was like, I can carry heavy things, this feels awesome.
I love it. But that like, see, like the pure joy you get out of that, like that's why we do it. So my kind of go-to workout of the week kind of links back to probably one of my all-time favorite races that I did. And it was the Shenzhen race in 2018. And it was right after the Malaysia race that you kind of mentioned before, the Johor one, which was probably one of my worst races ever, because I just started off really well and then I just went backwards, and it was horrific. And the next week was the Shenzhen race.
Oh gosh, so back to backers.
Yeah, and I didn't know who was going to be there. I thought it was just me, so I was like, oh, whatever, walk in the park. And we started, like the guys and the girls started together, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Miriam and Angelique just come charging in. Oh gosh! And I just remember going, what? Because like for anyone listening, like Miriam is a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal runner. She came 3rd in worlds last year. She's great. And Angelique also is just like, if you can keep up with Angelique, you're clearly doing something right.
She came, I think, top 5 in the APAC championships last year, having run the ultra beast the day before. And
she's a
like
machine.
Just the power through which she was like running up those hills. So I think it was about 1,500 meters of elevation on the beast course. So she'd already done that twice the day prior, and then was still like top 5 contention the following day. Both of them incredible athletes.
And great, absolutely amazing to race with, like the nicest people. And I remember just looking at them being like, okay, well, like this can go one of 2 ways. A, I can just say, okay, well, it was nice showing up today, like, bye guys. Or B, I can be like, no. I'm here today. Let's get this going. And Miriam like was not going to be able to keep up with Miriam because she's so quick. But Angelique, I think Angelique and I were neck and neck the entire race, and she hit the spear and I didn't. And I ended up coming in 3rd. Angelique was second, Miriam was first. And actually, like, our times really weren't that far apart. And
amazing.
I was thrilled. It's like, to this day, like, my all-time favorite race, all-time favorite finish, like, because that was just such an amazing feeling to be on the podium and feel like I kind of earned that spot to be right there with them. So my favorite workout, I remember kind of watching them, and especially Angelique, because we were there together, her transitions are quick.
Yes.
They're really quick. She hits the obstacle and she goes. And I was like, right, this is where I'm going to make up time. So when I train, especially if it's a really, really hard session, what I usually do is I will use either the assault bike, the ski erg, or one of those Woodway treadmills you talked about, and I will sprint. I will be like on the verge of throwing up, kind of like that kind of sprint, and I will immediately jump off and I'll do an exercise. But I'll try to make that exercise something that would be similar to what I would do in a race. So on Saturday, I went to the gym and I did exactly this. I did it for an hour, and it was kind of sprint as hard as I could for 200 meters on the Woodway treadmill, run over to the rope, like climb the rope twice, run back to the treadmill, sprint for 200 meters, run to the monkey bars, run back to the treadmill, do some heavy carries, do some tire flips, just kind of each one just really, really hard, and kind of mix it up with the skier, mix it up with the assault bike, and I think I did that for 20 minutes, and then I had like a 5-minute break, and I did it again. And like, we're lucky, like the gym we have has like the rope pull downs, like the rope, so it's almost like the like the power drag and all that. So just as much as I possibly could, just put myself in a really difficult position to be doing an exercise, but just not take that 5 seconds I would usually take. Just kind of go straight into it. So that's usually what one of my favorite go-to workouts is, if I'm just like, I just need to kill myself today. That's what it is.
Amazing. I like it. It's a good OCR sim, I guess.
Yeah. And you finish it and you're just like, I'm going to throw up, but that was great. So.
Yeah, the strange people that we are in the OCR world, that, you know, you rate a workout by like, I finished it and I felt awful. It was amazing.
I know, but that's kind of, I don't know about you, like that's like the inspiration for kind of sticking with it. Like, you know that everyone else is doing the same thing and you're just like, everyone else is doing this, like, and it's not from a competitive point of view, like I'm super competitive, but it's so much fun knowing that like on a Saturday, like I can think of you, I can think of Jesse, I can think of like the guys in the US and be like, everyone's out there doing something like this. And it's just, even if we aren't seeing each other every weekend in racing, it's really cool to know that we're all there kind of doing the same thing, kind of working towards the same thing.
I like it.
And that concludes this episode of the OCR Review. We hope you enjoyed it and we'd love to hear from you, so please hit us up on our social media channels. You can email us at theocrreview@gmail.com, find us on Instagram at the OCR Review, or on Facebook at the OCR Review.
Remember to send us your thoughts, questions and suggestions for future episodes, and please do subscribe on Spotify, Apple or your podcast platform of choice and leave us a review. We've been
Ilona,
Jay,
Sean
and Jesse.
and this is the OCR Review. Thanks for listening.